On Sam's way back to the third chamber, he loses air which causes him to drown. Dum tries to resuscitate Sam, but his lungs are filled up with an excess amount of water which leads to Sam's death. The movie began on Saturday, June 23, 2018. A team of young soccer players and their 25-year-old assistant coach went to a cave after their football training. The boys ride their bicycles to reach the cave. What they thought would be a fun day of bonding together turned into a tragedy. At dawn, rain starts pouring out heavily. One of the guards checks the area near the cave to see if anyone's in there. To the guard's surprise, he sees the bicycles and shoes of the football boys, which he already knew that something might happen to them. The guard immediately asked for rescue. At the cave, the football team knew they were up for trouble. Security officers arrived, but they couldn't do anything to save them since it was troublesome to rescue them at night with the heavy rain. Some of them wanted to come home already, but they couldn't find a way out, not even a higher ground to escape the water. The following day, the news that the 12 boys got stuck in the cave had already reached the town and eventually spread worldwide. The U.S. Indo-Pacific Command in Hawaii got the news about it. The professionals and lieutenants have been calling different custody from different countries to inform them about the missing kids. They have been notified by the Bangkok embassy about the tragedy to ask for assistance. The Thai government announced publicly to the country for Thai people to stay still as they would be rescuing the people inside the cave with the help of professional divers. As soon as the people knew about this announcement, they went to the area near the cave to offer any necessary support. The rescue team starts to plan and brief each other accordingly. The U.S. lieutenant informs them about important details, including the cave's entrance, where exactly the football team is trapped and their chance of survival. The football team is inside the cave for more than 72 hours, and the tricky part begins as the kids are hungry and thirsty. The coach thinks of a way to quench their thirst by drinking through the water dripping from the cave stone. The rescue team heads towards the entrance, but their concern is that it would be tough to rescue them if it rains. Worse, the chance of their survival could be slim if this happens, as the water would go straight to the cave, and it can fill it up quickly. More foreign divers arrive, including Mr. Tan Shalong, a cave diving instructor from Peaceland Foundation. The Thai Navy SEALs and Mr. Tan Shalong discuss the people who can take responsibility for safety. It has been 5 days since the football team entered the cave, and for 5 days also, they haven't been eating or drinking anything. They joke around to somewhat lighten all the anxiety and difficulties they're feeling, since this is only what they can do while waiting for rescue. A man named Puyan Thai offered help by giving more water pumps, but he had to get a permit first to get involved in the mission. Professor Adisorn met Puyan and gave his badge to him while Adisorn coordinated with the higher-ups. Puyan talks to Professor Adisorn and proposes his strategy where they could place pumps and how they can maximize it to drain the water inside the cave in case the rain pours down. The reporters from different nations give updates about the incident. They are asking for prayers for the condition of the football team, since they have no idea whether they are still alive or not anymore. On the other hand, despite the help that Puyai is offering, Professor Adisorn continues to debate with the lieutenant about allowing Puyai to join the mission. Still, the lieutenant is hesitant to permit him since the documents are incomplete, and someone has to be responsible if something happens. Puyai gets interviewed by one of the reporters. He said he had been in the cave already and was 1,000,000% confident that he could rescue them. The U.S. Navy SEAL heard about this and wondered if they could allow Puyai to join. Meanwhile, a lady whose nephew is part of the football team begged for Puyai to come back despite being rejected to join the operation. Inside the cave, the boys continue to stay alive. They constantly tell stories to each other to buy time. Professor Adisorn informed Puyai that he wasn't granted approval to let him join after talking to every department. However, Puyai received a call that 10 water pumps were ready to be delivered. The water pumps arrived, and the rescue team brought it straight to the cave. After so many rejections, Puyai's plan is finally approved. The rescue team celebrates after testing out the water pumps. According to the reporter, the British civilian cave divers are getting to lay lines deeper inside after water levels fell substantially overnight. They did this by redirecting vast amounts of water away from the cave complex using unique turbojet water pumps. Unfortunately, the crops will be sacrificed as the low-lying areas will be flooded because of it. The British divers are suiting up since the rescue team could see the tunnel entrance now. As the divers swim through 300 to 400 meters of deep water, the football team hears the sound the divers make from the water. Little did they know, they were about to be rescued. Both parties are shocked to see each other, the trapped people are still alive, and someone saves them. The divers asked how many they were so they could prepare the necessary equipment they would use to rescue them. Puyai and the rest of the team celebrate once they receive the news that the kids and their coach have been found alive. This news spread quickly. An update about this incident had been anticipated since they were missing. Now that they have been found alive, the question is how they will get them out. The first option is to drill holes into the mountain to create a passage. Second, they can pump the water out of the cave as much as possible, but this method could take 4 months until the monsoon season is over. And the third option, which is the hardest, is sending divers in, bringing them out one by one through the flooded passages. Given their 3 options, the tension rises in choosing the best option. 2 of the professional divers in the US see what they're about to do. Jim, an experienced cave diver, thinks they are up for an accident as the lads are not geared up because they only have a single cylinder on their backs. They should at least have 2 cylinders for cave diving. Inside the cave, the kids are starting to be given first aid. At the 3rd chamber forward operating base, more people arrive. Dum and Sam team up to take oxygen to chamber 4. Transporting oxygen tanks manually from one section to another is difficult. That's why it's taking the rescue team a lot of time before they have the football team get out of the cave. More people from the US Navy SEAL are deported to Thailand to support the divers' mission rescue. As Dum and Sam reach chamber 4 to drop the oxygen tanks there, Dum tells Sam that he can come back to the 3rd chamber already, but before Sam leaves, Dum asks him if he still has enough air in his tank. Sam undoubtedly answered yes. However, on Sam's way back to the 3rd chamber, he loses air which causes him to drown. Dum tries to resuscitate Sam, but his lungs are filled up with an excess amount of water which leads to Sam's death. The other sergeants tried to calm down Dum as he couldn't accept what had happened to his buddy. The news about the death of a sergeant who was supposed to rescue the trapped football team in a cave quickly spread worldwide. The lieutenant gave his thoughts on Sergeant Sam's death. He said in his speech that the deceased sergeant is trained to work hard in risky conditions at all times, and even if they lose a team member, that's something they have to face and not lose courage, to stay strong and continue to fight. Nevertheless, people continue to mourn over this sorrowful news. Jim Warney plans to go to Thailand to help save the kids in the cave system, but his wife questions him about this idea since there are copious people there already. Major provides the colonel with an update on their operation mission. Still, it wasn't good news because another issue that developed was that the Thais won't let anyone dive into Chamber 3 after losing the Thai diver, Sergeant Sam. The Thai government decides to hold off until they are assured that there won't be any casualties again, even if they are left with British cave divers. The colonel finds this disappointing because they lose the chance to save the football team in favorable weather. Thais have to understand this incident alone is risky since the football team is behind a wall of water, and no rescue mission like this has even been attempted. If they wait too long, the divers will run out of air because their oxygen is already dangerously low at 15%. On the other hand, the tragedy is costing more than just the divers. The farmers were entitled to their salary for putting in so much effort to assist everyone they could, but they refused to accept it and selflessly returned it because all they wanted was for the kids to escape the cave. Major went inside the Thai Navy SEAL's office to raise his concern. He informs the Thai Navy officer that the world is watching over them and emotions are running on an elevated level. Furthermore, he emphasized that they should start acting out now to save the trapped kids in the cave because they are running out of time, and once the weather changes, they may even lose hope of getting one of the kids alive. When the Thai Navy officer inquires about the chance of success when acting now, he is informed that it is between 60% and 70%. The major warned him that not all children would be able to return home. The Thai Navy officer now has to make a thoughtful judgment regarding this information. Jim Warney prepares to go to Thailand as his wife allows him. Jim Warney's friends arrive at his house to hand out more equipment he'll need, such as a side mount wing, lots of torches, weight belt harnesses, reg servicing kits, A-clamp regs and more. It's the day of the operation to rescue the trapped kids in the cave system, and people are watching over it, but the reporters cannot go into the cave since the water level is still very high, and they can barely see anything in there. The Thai military will work with the British and American divers to rescue the 12 boys and their coach. The crowd mobs the governor as he arrives. The generosity and unity of the Thai people can be seen in how much they care for the rescuers and everyone else when they cook meals for them. The US Navy SEALs inform Ben they have a problem with the masks and request his assistance. The masks appear too big for the kids, so they'll need a favorable pressure option. The US Navy SEALs have sourced positive pressure face masks overseas and require them to arrive on time, so they enlist Ben's assistance in getting them on a Thai Airways flight as soon as possible. While some of the masks are on their way to Thailand, the rescue team has started gearing up for the dive. Jim Warney arrives in Thailand, and the other men welcome and honor him. 13 divers in total have entered the cave. Jim was informed briefly about the final plan and his responsibility to help the divers change tanks and to check that the positive pressure face masks are tight against the faces so the boys won't drown, mainly because they'll be heavily sedated with ketamine. Jim questions the boys being sedated, but they have no other option but to do it because if they panic while getting them out of the cave, it could risk everybody else's lives. Jim, Warnie and Connor now enter the third chamber. One of the American divers orders his fellow diver of the same blood to make sure Jim and Connor have everything they need. Jim and Connor swim through the deep water to reach the fifth chamber, waiting until their help is required. The reporters were eager to report that 2 boys had been successfully brought out of the cave. The boys are transferred straight to the hospital down the hill. The rescue mission is in full swing, and people anticipate that the remaining boys and their coach will be rescued. The Prime Minister arrives and is in deep gratitude for everyone. The following day, Jim is asked to sedate the kids since the person in charge of doing it got sick. Jim didn't hesitate to do so and will be informed briefly on how to sedate properly. Jim and other divers swim to the fifth chamber and wait for more boys to arrive. Exchanges of small conversations happen between the divers talking about rescue operations they have done in the past. Christ, one of the divers, reaches the fifth chamber with one of the kids. Jim and his fellow diver assist them by putting on the masks and sedating the boys. More boys arrive at Jim's station. Meanwhile, Jim is asked to be an extra diver to rescue the remaining boys the following day. Few boys are left in the cave, and people see a beacon of hope for this incident to end. Jim calls his wife and tells her that the day Jim rescues the coach comes. They are informed that it's gonna be harder to save him, considering that the coach is heavy, and rain starts pouring down. He's also feeling nervous about this mission. Jim dives into the 7th and 8th chambers. One of the boys arrived at the 8th chamber, and he geared him up to be rescued. No problems occur until they reach the 5th chamber, where the boy starts to become conscious and causes him to panic. Jim loses the bag of injections but still manages to inject one into the boy's body. After quite some time, they finally reach the 3rd chamber, and they start to transport the boy from the 3rd chamber to the 1st chamber until he finally gets out. The coach is transported to the nearest hospital, and once the moment he regains consciousness, he looks for his boys. The coach becomes very emotional. The movie ends with people celebrating the successful rescue mission. The rescue team's belief that they couldn't get all the boys out alive was proven incorrect. Despite all odds, all 13 members have made it out alive. All the divers were treated with dignity and respect, especially Jim Warnie. Over 2 weeks, a story of heroism and sacrifice has captivated the entire world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this to help the channel out. Have a nice day.